Several key Senate races are being closely watched as we get closer to the midterms now, a little more than 3 weeks away. Joining us to discuss this morning is the Executive Director of Heritage Action for America, Jessica Anderson. Welcome to the National Desk. Jessica, great to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We expect a shift in the House of Representatives, but in the Senate, there are still a few seats both parties are watching very closely. So tell me what Senate races you're keeping a close eye on right now.
That's right. There are actually 8 Senate seats in total to keep an eye on. There are 4 seats that the Republican majority or the GOP needs to hold in order to keep a tied Senate. So nothing would change if these 4 seats are held. That's Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Wisconsin. The 4 seats, though, for the GOP to pick up, and that's really just the beginning because if it's a wave, it'll be much more than 4, but those 4 are Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and New Hampshire. So there's a lot of attention being played on those 4 pickup opportunities, certainly as we see that early voting has begun in a state like Arizona. It began on the 12th, where you're already seeing people come out to the polls and frankly, follow through, we think, in an early way to the dissatisfaction that so many voters have across the country for the direction this country is going. So those are really the 4 Senate seats to watch as voters make their way to the polls over the next 20 some odd days.
And Jessica, 21 days, still a long time for voters to change their minds, as we know. Have you seen polls shifting just in the past month?
Polls are shifting, as a matter of fact, and they're actually showing 2 big things. One, they're showing a greater rise in intensity for people making a plan to vote and planning to vote. They realize exactly what's at stake. The second thing that we're seeing shift are the issues. The economy, inflation, gas prices, energy, all of that has led the polling, really, frankly, since the spring. It's not been for the last 2 or 3 weeks that we're actually seeing crime begin to pick up as the #1 issue. It's happening in states like Pennsylvania, where you've got an incredibly important Senate race there with Fetterman versus Dr. Oz. It's happening in Nevada, where you have 40% of the population in Nevada being Hispanic, concerned about their safety and security. And you're seeing it in Arizona, where crime fueled by the rise of illegal immigration and lack of border security is worrying many. So I'd keep an eye on crime as one of the major drivers. It's not going to replace inflation, right? That's top of mind for everyone, but it's crawling up there in the polls.
And again, we are expecting the GOP to pick up enough House seats to gain control, but that's typical for the midterms. As we know, the party of the current president always loses seats in the House, but the question is how many? What do you think?
Well, this is a turnaround election, and it certainly is going to be, I believe, a referendum on the current state of affairs. And so we're anticipating anywhere from 20 to 25, maybe as many as 30, if it's a good night for the GOP, that will actually flip. These are districts that Trump won 4 years ago, but there are also potentially a lot of districts that are deep in Biden territory, that are at D+1 or 2 or 3, and can have consistently gone blue, but have the chance to flip back. And again, it's because of the issues. It's because voters are discouraged and upset by the direction of the country, and they want to see the economy turn around. They want to see safety and security turn around, and they want to have hope in our American future. And I think your polling at the beginning actually really represents that coast to coast. So I'm expecting 20 to 25 seats to flip, which would give the House GOP a major majority, and then hopefully a mandate as they go into this next legislative cycle, this next Congress, to actually get things done for the American people.
And Jessica, are there any states in particular where you see data that you believe will be completely different on election day? What states could become surprises for us, do you think?
Well, that's actually a great question, because there are a number of states that are bubbling below the radar. Look at Washington State. Tiffany Smiley has put up one heck of a campaign against Patty Murray, the incumbent Democratic senator. She has raised $6 million in Q3 and is up running television in a major way. So she has a chance to break through, something the polls really aren't going to show quite yet until Election Day. The Oregon governor's race is another one. Keep an eye on that. President Biden obviously thinks it's important. He was out there stumping for the current governor. Could be a turnaround. And then look at Connecticut, the Senate race there. Look at Colorado, the Senate race there. I mean, there are Senate and gubernatorial races that are not those top 8, but have the potential to be the eclipse of this red wave come November.
Executive Director of Heritage Action for America, Jessica Anderson. We appreciate you joining us this morning here on the National Desk.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Have a great